That's just like on brand with SIG. They're always trying to pump out something new, something different. It's cool. I just don't like when we're being used for free. As a matter of fact, we pay to be used. Anyways. All right, let's get this thing over with. Move this out of the way. Clear, good, nothing in here, clear. So what do we have here? I wanted to do a 1000. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. I haven't done this in a minute, so pardon my lack of manners. I hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we are going to go over this P320 assemblage of parts. Kind of talk about what I've sourced to complete this. My intention initially was to run it for about 1,000 rounds before I can give you my review, but that was stopped short, and we're gonna get into it today and just kind of give you an overall thought of what you get when you put together something like this. Real quick and simple, we're gonna start from top to bottom. Here we have the Cyelee Wolf X Pro. The slide is from Division slide and barrel with the port up front here on both the slide and the barrel, of course. Kind of like a chunk port type thing. This slide is for the P320F slide and barrel combo, and on this slide I've put the P320 slide completion kit. So the striker, back plates, the extractor. Am I missing something? Maybe, but anyways, so the P320 OEM slide completion kit went on here. For the guide rod, this is a Wilson Combat 1911 guide rod, and the springs are from, I think it's Wolff springs. That was a whole kit. I think it goes from 11 pounds to 18 pounds, I think. Down to the frame, this is an AXG SIG frame. What about the frame? Yeah, it came with these grit panels. These are just the standard ones, nothing fancy about it. In here, I have the SIG custom work FCU for the P320. And when I got the frame, it didn't come with the Magwell, so I had to buy that separately, but this is the Magwell made for AXG. This is also by SIG. I got 321 rounders, the old model. So that's pretty much it as far as parts. Surefire X300. I also have 2 extra frames, but we'll get into that shortly here. All right, so I guess I'm gonna start with the elephant in the room. Why P320? You know, it's funny, when I first posted kind of like a teaser of me completing this and testing it out, I saw a couple of comments on the video talking about how irrelevant the P320 is because of the 365. I mean, I understand, but I think relevancy is subjective. So I do want to address that before we get into this. I can sit here and say, I don't care much about 1911s and 2011s. Does my feeling for that platform affect the relevancy of that said platform? I don't think so. There are people that's it's all they have. Me not caring about them or being fed up does not make them irrelevant. There's this thing where I understand, but you know, I try not to speak in absolute. Like, if that's your experience, that is your experience, and you are free to share how you feel about anything, honestly. But to make a general statement as if you were speaking for the public, that's kind of like, whoa, hey. I'll give you an example. 10 mils. I think it was last year or 2 years ago, I don't know. Everybody wanted a 10 mil. I have yet to go to the range, either indoor or outdoor, and find a whole bunch of shells of 10 mils. The most common type, 9 mils, of course, a little bit of 22s. Anything bigger than 9, it's usually 45. I don't even see 40s like that. We're asking for things that we barely use anyways. I have yet to run into somebody, even like the 45, it's usually when I show up, like the person has already left. Just think about that. And I'll call myself out on this. I understand, you know, we like options, even if we don't need them, we like to have them. I'll give you an example and call myself out. I like cars. I think the Audi RS6 is one of the, you know, for me, it's just that does it. You get space, you get speed, you get comfort, you get all that stuff. I used to feel some type of way because Audi wouldn't bring it over to the US because the demand was low. But they finally brought it over, and guess what? I didn't buy one. I cannot afford one. But I do like seeing them on the road, and when I see them, I always tell them, hey, take it easy. Don't drive it too fast or too often, because, you know, one day I'll take it off your hands. The point is, we sometimes ask for stuff that we don't even need. And then when it comes out, you use it for a month or two. And then when the whole noise around that thing fades away, that's it. We're back to square one, yelling at these companies to innovate. For someone that owns nothing but 2011s, me saying that 2011s are irrelevant, to him, that sounds weird, because it's like, no, they mean something to me. Like this is what I do. This is all I shoot. What are you talking about? All right. So just wanted to address that before we get into the whole, SIG, blah, 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 blah. There it is. All right. It's Chamberlain 9, and I like it this way. Let's get into it. The P320. All right, so initially I wanted to do a 1,000 round review of this, try different frames and all that stuff, and then just put 1,000 rounds and then give you my thoughts on this, and if this was worth even, you know, my time and investment or whatever. I'll be honest with you, if you don't own a P320, go to the range and shoot one. I know they have their history. You know, the thing with the internet is once something is out there, it's out there. It takes a lot of time to build trust and your reputation, but you know, just one bad turn can ruin you. And I think that's kind of like what happened here. However you feel about it. Was I second guessing this thing? Yes. When I picked up the FCU, I was like, am I really doing this? But then again, the deal was just too good to pass up on. I basically got the FCU for about $100 off. And that's how this whole thing came about. The funny thing, backstory to this is I actually wanted to assemble a Glock. I just had a hard time finding the type of frame that I wanted to use. So it took a little while, and then I came across this deal. I was like, you know what? With the whole modular thing, I think SIG understood the assignment. I know some people feel some type of way about the fact that they were picked over, you know, Glock and FN and whoever else was there. I think Beretta was also in there. But I mean, seriously, who came up with the most modular thing? They did. Was it perfect? Nope, but they did. And at a lower cost. They essentially just took the L financially to get the contract and then recoup later on. So they were playing the long game. If you think about it, it makes sense now. And that's how SIG is now pumping out. Like by the time I'm done with this video, they'll have another variant of this thing. I'm not kidding. I was talking to a SIG rep last year. No relation. Right before Thanksgiving. And I asked him, because I already had the FCU, and I asked him, hey, do you think that you guys will have a full-size AXG frame coming out anytime soon? The guy told me that, you know, for them it was kind of like pointless or meaningless, just because with the longer frame, you're kind of limited to what kind of slides you can run on it. But the other way, which you can clearly see here, is easier. A shorter frame can actually accommodate a variety of slides. Business-wise, it just makes sense to keep it in this form factor and then run any kind of slide on top and kind of give it that 1911 look. Right on brand. What was it? SIG Next event, whatever. What did they drop? The SXG, you know, that's just like on brand with SIG. They're always trying to pump out something new, something different. It's cool. I just don't like when we're being used for free. As a matter of fact, we pay to be used. Anyways, now let's get into some of those parts and share my thoughts. The Cyelee Wolf Pro, I really like this optic. Haven't lost zero in almost 600 rounds. Very easy to adjust. I think these are tactile and audible. And I wish holosun would just, I don't know, maybe they have their reasons. Any reticle over 32 MOA on this type of red dots, for me, it's just too much information. I believe this is 24. It's a combo of 24 and then you have a dot, or you can have the 24 ring and the dot, or I think just the ring. The 24 MOA ring or reticle is pretty sweet. I like it. I like this. And Cyelee sent this to me for testing. So far, so good. I don't know what happened to them, by the way. They got nuked out of IG for going after holosun. They were going back and forth, and I think they got reported or whatever. But anyways, if you're watching, I like this thing. It just works. For slide and barrel, this is where I almost lost my mind. I wanted to go with either agency or ZF slide. I couldn't find one that was affordable, or if it was out of stock. And I didn't want to buy the slide and then have to find a barrel separately. I was looking for a combo, so I looked at a few companies. I knew ARC had some stuff for Glock, but I think right around that time they released this. Actually, they just dropped it, so that was a no-brainer for me. I did want this assemblage of parts to be very close to the AXG Legion. When I saw this, I was like, okay, that's cool. I don't have to send my slide out to get ported. It comes as a package. We should be good to go. It's well made. I like the finish, the little sheen to that. I wanted to Cerakote this another color, but when I saw it like this, I was like, you know what? You deserve to stay black. You've earned it. So I am not gonna mess with this for the time being. For the time being, it's gonna remain like that. The serrations here, they're not the most aggressive. They do look like they are, but they really aren't. It's got these little like raised squares, but they're flattened, so you don't really get a good bite. I mean, you really have to engage the slide and get a good grip on it to rock it. But you know, it's better than nothing. It's not like slick or whatever, but it's not as aggressive as it looks. That's what I'm trying to say. I like the window cut here. The port looks good. I think it's a pretty nice design. And if you know anything about me, I like minimalistic logos, okay? If you're gonna advertise your company and use the entire slide, you can keep it. I like minimalistic touches like that, and I think this is pretty cool. So now let's get to the AXG frame. I wanted to try the Icarus. Honestly, no offense, but I think with most of their designs, they are trying too hard. I understand the form fitting and the choice in designs or whatever, but they like the beaver tail. I really wanted to try it, but it's just, y'all doing too much. So no way. There was no way I was gonna go with the Icarus Precision. The only one that really piqued my interest is the one that they made in collaboration with Agency. But that's a whole gun. Okay, the frame is the cost of an entire gun. And I don't know, maybe like the pictures are misleading or whatever, but I feel like the grip is just bulky. I wasn't sure about that, and you hardly find them in stores where you can actually try for yourself before you make the purchase. So it just didn't make sense to me. This made sense. And boy, I'll tell you, this is made for human hands, man. Number one to me, for me, the VP9 grip is just, it's pure magic. But man, this thing is not far behind. It is not far behind, and SIG didn't do too much on this, just the essential. The checkering here. I like my finger grooves, but I like what they did. I only give you one, not a lot. You get one, but it's one that counts. Right there, kind of gives you this undercut here, so you get a good full grip. The back, I mean, just everything about this thing is just, whew. When I present this thing, like, this works for me. Every time, I don't even have to look for the dot. Of course, you know, practicing and dry firing will help with that. Going from my CZ P10F or P10C to this, actually it throws me off a little bit because I find that I'm actually pointing just a touch lower when I go from that to this, which was again a reminder that if you're gonna be jumping from one platform to another, just know, you know, this whole thing about, oh, they all feel the same, they all shoot the same, it's nonsense, man. It is nonsense. I don't know, I'm kind of getting sidetracked here, but it's also another thing that is just bothering me, and that's the reason why it's what, September? It's September, and this year I have not picked up a new firearm. I'm gonna make a whole video about that, but I just realized that I've been stagnant, you know, in terms of like growing in my skills and stuff, because I'm constantly jumping from one platform to another. Even when I find one that really works for me, I'm still curious to go see what's out there. And this was a good reminder of that. I was so into this because I was trying to get to 1,000 rounds as fast as I could. When I moved back to using my P10C and my P10F, or even my Hellcat Pro, that already sounds like a lot of guns. You know, this platform hopping is just not it if you want to get proficient. But I noticed the difference in my drawing, and I had to make some adjustments. But man, I'm telling you, this thing is nice. And I know, like, if you own 20 SIGs and got tired of them, you move back to Glock, this sounds like, where have you been, dude? Have you been living under a rock? Worse. From my experience, which isn't a lot, I know this about most products. When something new drops, there's always some kind of kinks, some issues that will have to be addressed. So I was not in a rush to just get into this thing and start playing around. And it just wasn't the time. Like, I was not interested. Like, the whole modular thing to me was just like, whatever. But it is amazing. I mean, for this whole thing, minus the gold part here, not really gold, FDE part here, you take this out, this whole thing is not even considered a firearm. That's crazy. So you can technically fly. I'm not saying try it. It's not gonna be wise. Even though legally, technically, it's this part, okay? This, actually, I keep talking about it. Let me just show you. The firearm is actually this, I don't know if you wanna call it FDE or goldish type thing here. It's just that. You remove this, everything else here is on paper and by law, not a firearm. So if you put your FCU in your backpack when you're traveling, you're a felon. Yeah, this thing can fit in your pocket and you can get in trouble for it. That's just funny to me. Now, let's talk about range. I'll be honest, I only have this light just because it looks kind of mean. You know, looks account for about 50% of your accuracy, so don't take that lightly. I'm just kidding. I actually like it better without the light. Although it's somewhat balanced, especially when loaded, I still feel like it makes it a little front heavy, and I'm still playing with the springs to see which spring to run when I have this on and when I'm shooting without the light on. Honestly, the reason why I use the lights is because I have a holster that can actually host the X300. That's really it. But I'm gonna find a dedicated holster where I can run this without the light and, you know, try and get into some matches in my local range. It's just keep forgetting when to sign up for it. But yeah, I would love to. And that's the other thing. My man was saying this is irrelevant, we're done with this, we moved on to something else. The 365 basically kills it. I got into this because I wanted a metal frame handgun that's also flexible. You'll be hard pressed to find a platform that gives you this. Even to this day, I can go from this to the X Comp, X Carry, whatever. Like, there's just so many options. If I want to carry, if I want to carry this, I can just swap the slide, keep this frame, and go with it. And if I want to compete, I can literally, like, if this does not, I don't even know what category this one would put me in, but I don't think that my indoor range cares much about it. As long as it's not like IDP or whatever. They just do like range matches or whatever, like local matches. I don't think they'll make a big deal out of, you know, having this. But if it's a problem, I can actually just get an OEM slide from SIG, slap it on here, and now I'm legal. You know, you don't want the Magwell, I can take that off. You don't want ports, I can put a barrel that's not ported or comped out here without having to change so much, and still retain the same trigger pull and the ability to tune this thing for my application, for my intended use. This is relevant. So there's that. Shoots pretty well. Like I said, without the lights, I like it better. Right now I'm running the 16-pound spring just because I ran into some issues with the slide return in the battery. I have to be honest, as I was putting this together, you know, I was really concerned because I've done my research and found that with this slide, well, not this slide, but with the SIG design or whatever, they had to make some modification here for the disconnector to prevent the striker from being released while the slide is out of battery. There is a sweet spot where, while it's out of battery, look at the tip here of the guide rod, and I'm engaging the sear to some degree right there. So if I push a little more, it's disengaged. And then somewhere around here, right there, it's the sear and the striker kind of coming in contact. And if I release it a little more by pushing forward here, it drops. But if you look, it's still out of battery. And now it's fully into battery. So yeah, I wanted consistent return all the way just to mitigate that. There's also the whole thing about the lock up here. It starts to drop somewhere around here. That's when the barrel starts to pivot. So make of it what you want. There are a lot of videos that kind of go over what is the problem. So my solution was simple. Make sure the slide is always back in the battery. Don't use cheap ammo, reman ammo. That's it. But I will keep playing with the springs just to find a sweet spot between reliability and, you know, the slide returning fully, and also a good balance while shooting, right? Where it doesn't feel oversprung or too sluggish. I have the ability to play around and tune this up, which is great. I don't really have that with any other firearms I own. So that's pretty cool. I mean, even just swapping the frames. The frame alone, going to a polymer, changes the behavior of this thing. I'm out here thinking that if I go from this to that, to that, to that, and that over there, I'm gonna be just as good. That's a lot. I have about 5 minutes left here. Okay, yeah, the striker broke at about 500 rounds. So what you're seeing here is a new striker that I needed to install. And that's another weird thing about SIG. And the reason why even the SIG rep told me that they weren't gonna come up with something else. He told me they were trying to kill. They have so many SKUs, it's not even funny. If you look online right now, you will find this striker under 3 different SKUs. The original one that I had will send the slide home with no issues, right? Didn't need that little tap, that SIG tap. You gotta give it that love tap here. The new striker that I bought, because initially I bought the whole slide completion kit. So it came with the striker, and that striker had a heavier spring, even longer spring. I'll put up a picture or maybe a B-roll of it here. And then the one that I bought separately to replace it after the first one was broken, I noticed that the slide wouldn't return. Like, it didn't have enough oomph. I took them apart and compared the springs. The spring on the new striker that I bought separately was a little shorter than the one that I got from the slide completion kit. If there are any SIG connoisseurs out there, enlighten me. I have no idea why there's even a difference, and there are 3 different SKUs for what looks to be the same part. But that's the only thing that broke, you know, thankfully. I'm gonna put another 500 through this, you know, get to 1,000. I don't even know if I'll do a 1,000 round review of this. It's a P320. There are plenty out there. Was this worth it? It really depends, but for me, I believe so. Should you just get a AXG Legion 320 if you don't want to have to, you know, grab parts from different parts of the world? I'd say go for it, because I think all in, I'm almost maybe a beanie or 2 over what the AXG Legion costs, but that would be your call. As for the slide, I think this is probably like the most interesting part out of all of these. I can't tell if the ports are helping, only because I don't have control or kind of like a reference point. This is my first SIG and it came like this. Well, I configured it like this. I will have to shoot a standard one, like a 4.7 slide SIG with no ports to even give my opinion on how effective this is. Anyways, that's enough for today. Y'all be well, take care, catch you on the next one.